Coercion is one of those words. You can apply that to a whole lot of different spheres. But when you say about the last man standing, the comfort, the security, the protection, one of the things that's being propagated now is this thought of the ESG, the environment, social and governance aspects of how organisations will operate. And that lending itself to the possibility of the social credit system. That's the fear, isn't it, that people have if there is going to be all sorts of government regulation over keeping us safe, that somehow or other we'll soon be coerced into a certain level of behaviour that will be very coercive and along the lines of what maybe perhaps a sinister government might want us to be doing. So thoughts here, George, taking you into another sort of deeper area.
Well, I wonder if we're having a mind meld moment here, or if you've been looking at my YouTube account, because my last video, which just released today, is on ESG and how it's a major scam or a sham, and the one I released yesterday, I think, was on the social credit system in part. So. Look, you're right. The ESG stands for environmental, social and governance. It's all the rave within the corporate sector right now and in governments. And what we're seeing is corporations, big multinational corporations, becoming more involved with the governing of our lives. And they do this through justifying it all through the fact that, we've got to be more concerned about the environment. So they're even now concerned about you as a customer and what you're doing as their clients, and as if they have some right to actually govern you as just being a customer. And so that's why it won't be hard to see in the future banks, they're already doing it now. There's one Australian bank that's actually precluded any loans going out to people that are going to buying conventional cars, so you can only purchase an electric vehicle with loans from this bank. So there's already a credit card in existence that you can voluntarily sign up to that limits your daily spending habits to ensure that your climate footprint isn't so large that it affects the planet, apparently. I think that given that technology's there, this perhaps may be the way of the future. Will there be a social credit system that comes into play? I'm not sure. There's people out there that are pushing for that overtly. There's actually one voluntarily in existence in a province in Italy. But I think what's more likely to happen is that this sort of social credit system will just creep in with everything else that's coming in. We will find it's here before we even know that it was instituted. And, I could talk for another hour on that, Neil, and we don't have time, but go and have a look at my YouTube videos, so to say.
Well, you've got environment in itself. Here we are, as Christian believers, saying that stewardship of the environment's a good thing. So there are some twists in all of this, but the climate change alarmism and the things that can come from that might concern listeners. Social and governance, all of those things sound right in themselves, but when you start to apply a way that the regulation looks right to one ideology and wrong to another, then you've got the potential for overtaking a system, and we might be able to look at China and say that they've got a social credit system whereby they're controlling the masses. So somehow or other, George, I've thought that you should add another letter to the ESG, an F for freedom. So if you actually added something to the end of that and said, okay, let's make that a condition of who you are, then you can actually bring those things into a little bit more context, can't you?
Yeah, well, that'd throw the whole movement into chaos, because let's be quite honest here, ESG is the Trojan horse that the cultural Marxists that our friend Bill Muhlenberg talks about have used to actually slip into yet another institution that no one ever thought that the Marxists would actually get their hands on, and that institution is the corporations. I mean, the very thing that they despise. And so there's been this recognition that they are now a permanent reality within our economies, within our societies, and they are a useful tool to do things that governments might not be able to do simply because governments are beholden to we We hope there is still some vestige of governments being able to be beholden to the will of the people. If they go too far, we throw them out. But we can't throw out a company. We can't throw out a bank. We can't throw out an energy provider. In some of these things, they become essential, so much so that we're captive to them rather than them being captive to us. So this is a worrying trend indeed, Neil.